Well, today I come with a fantastic story for all the beautiful children out there, especially for those children who like to shirk work. And the story is about how the camel got his hump. There are many different imaginary stories about the creation of the world and how things came to be. The story given is from Just So Stories, a collection of humorous stories that the author Rudyard Kipling told his own children. Now, this is the next tale, and it tells us how the camel got his big hump. In the beginning of years, when the world was so new and all, and the animals were just beginning to work for man, there was a camel, and he lived in the middle of a howling desert because he did not want to work, and besides, he was a howler himself. So he ate sticks and thorns and tamarisks and milkweed and prickles, most excruciating idle, and when anybody spoke to him, he said, "Hump, just hump, and no more." Presently, the horse came to him on Monday, with a saddle in his back and a bit in his mouth, and said, "Camel, oh camel, come out and trot like the rest of us." "Hump," said the camel, and the horse went away and told the man. Presently, the dog came to the camel, with a stick in his mouth, and said, "Camel, oh camel, come and fetch and carry like the rest of us." "Hump," said the camel, and the dog went away and told the man. Presently the ox came to him with the yoke on his neck and said, "Camel, oh camel, come and plough like the rest of us." "Hump," said the camel, and the ox went away and told the man. At the end of the day, the man called the horse and the dog and the ox together and said, "Three, oh three, I am very sorry for you, with the world so new and all, but the humping thing in the desert can't work, or he would have been here by now. So I am going to leave him alone, and you must work double time to make it up for it." That made the three very angry, with the world so new and all, and they held a palaver and an indaba and a panchayat and a powwow on the edge of the desert. And the camel came chewing on milkweed most excruciating idle and laughed at them. Then he said, "Hum," and went away again. Presently there came along a jinn in charge of all deserts, rolling in a cloud of dust. Jinns always travel that way because it is magic. And he stopped to a palwar and powwow with the tree. "Jinn of all deserts," said the horse, "is it right for anyone to be idle, with the world so new and all?" "Certainly not," said the jinn. "Well," said the horse, "there's a thing in the middle of the howling desert, and he is a howler himself, with a long neck and a long legs, and he hasn't done a stroke of work since Monday morning. He won't trot." "Phew," said the jinn, whistling, "that's my camel, for all the golden Arabia. What does he say about it?" "He says hump," said the dog, "and he won't fetch and carry." "Does he say anything else?" "Only hum, and he won't plough," said the ox. "Very good," said the jinn. "I'll hump him if you will kindly wait a minute." The jinn rolled himself up in his dust cloak and took a bearing across the desert and found the camel most excruciatingly idle, looking at his own reflection in the pool of water. "My long and bubbling friend," said the jinn, "what's this I hear of your doing no work, with the world so new and all?" "Hump," said the camel. The jinn sat down with his chin in his hand and began to think a great magic, while the camel looked at his own reflection in the pool of water. "We have given the three extra work ever since Monday morning. All on account of your excruciating idleness, said the Jinn, and he went on, thinking magic, with his chin in his hand. Hump, said the Camel. I shouldn't say that again if I were you, said the Jinn. You might say it once too often, Bubbles. I want you to work. And the Camel said, Hump, again. But no sooner had he said it than he saw his back that he was so proud of, puffing up and puffing up into a great big lollipop hump. So you see that, said the Jinn. That's what your very own hump. That's you have brought upon you. Your very own self by not working. Today is Thursday and you have done no work since Monday. When the work began, now you are going to work. How can I, said the Camel, with this hump on my back? That's made a purpose, said the Jinn, all because you missed those 3 days. You'll be able to work now for 3 days without eating, because you can live on your hump. And don't you ever say, I never did anything for you. Come out of the desert and go to the tree and behave. Hump yourself. And the Camel humped himself, hump and all, and went away to join the tree. And from that day to this, the Camel always wears a hump. We call it a hump now, not to hurt his feelings, but he has never yet caught up with the 3 days that he missed at the beginning of the world, and he has never yet learned how to behave. From Just So Stories by Rudyard Kipling. Well, that may be the end of the story, but children, remember the camel's hump. The camel's hump is an ugly lump, which, well, you may see at the zoo. But uglier yet is the lump we get from having too little to do. Kiddies and grown-ups too. If we haven't enough to do, we get the hump. Camelius hump, the hump that is black and blue. We climb out of bed with a frowsly head and a snarly yali voice. We shiver and scowl, and we grunt and we growl at our bath and our boots and our toys. And there ought to be a corner for me, and I know there is one for you. When we get that hump, Camelius hump, the hump that is black and blue. The cure for this ill is not to sit still or frost with a book by the fire, but to take a large hoe and a shovel also and dig till you gently perspire. And then you will find that the sun and the wind and the Jinn and the garden too have lifted the hump, the horrible hump, the hump that is black and blue. I get it as well as you. If I haven't enough to do, well, we all get a hump, Camelius hump, kiddies and grown-ups too. By Rudyard Kipling.